So guys, as some of you may know, I'm currently in the US, which I have told you guys already in my previous videos. Even though some people still didn't get the gist, probably they didn't watch that video to the end, I'm still going to link it in the description box. Okay, I told you guys the purpose of our visit and everything, and yes, I got all your reactions, and also some of them were really pleasing. But right now, I'm now in Houston, Texas. I just left New York, guys. My stay in New York was quite interesting, but it came with its own ups and downs as well, and I promised you guys I was going to share everything with you all. Right, I have a lot of things to talk about. Okay, even though it was not really what I expected. You know, when you're coming to America or when you hear about America, you expect a lot of things, you know, probably because of the kind of things we hear about America and all. But guys, immediately I stepped my feet into New York, oh god, it wasn't what I expected at all. I'm going to be sharing with you guys from my experience what I think, honestly, what I think about New York. And is it really worth moving to? Is it worth living in New York? So firstly, guys, what I noticed from the very first time that I entered into New York, I got this familiar vibe. The place was familiar. I even told my husband that this place was giving me Onitsha and Lagos vibes, because the houses from the airport, because we took a train from the airport to our hotel, and the vibe I got, the houses I was seeing, I'm like, is this America? Am I in Lagos? Am I in Anambra State, Nigeria? You know, something like that. But yeah, that was the vibe I got. It looked really familiar. The houses from that point, from the airport to a hotel, the houses really looked familiar, you know, until we now got into the heart, I would call it the heart of New York. That was Manhattan. That was where we stayed. That's where everything is happening. There were lots of tourists there, and it looked overcrowded. In my head, I was like, no, I can't live here. It's giving me London vibes. It's giving me Lagos vibes. I cannot live here. Guys, there were a lot of people in that city. And it's quite understandable because, yeah, this is summer and, you know, many people came. Just as we came, many people also came for vacation and everything. And that was the center, you know, Times Square, Manhattan. That's the center of tourism. That's where a lot of things are happening. So it was quite noisy, it was quite crowded, and guys, it was dirty. I'll be very honest with you all, guys, that city is dirty. I was like, no, if it's for this part that I'm seeing, I would prefer living in my small town in the UK than coming to live in New York, because personally, as a person, I don't like overcrowded cities. Even in UK, I still prefer living in small towns and all. So I wouldn't be that kind of person that I can't even live in New York. I won't survive there. I don't like it. Just like I can't live in London, exactly the same way that I cannot live in New York. And there are tall buildings. Oh god, they have really tall buildings and very beautiful as well. Some of them you have to really look up to see the end, because they are quite tall and there are a lot of things to do. Guys, so many activities, and it's quite expensive. Of course, it's expected because, you know, it's a tourist attraction. A lot of tourists are there, so the city is quite expensive. The food, the activities, you know, everything is expensive. Even though our hotel room where we stayed in Manhattan, we stayed in a Hilton hotel in Manhattan. It wasn't that expensive compared to some hotels that I know in London, right? It was quite affordable, which was really surprising. Of course, they had better hotels and more expensive hotels, but the one we stayed was not that bad. I'm going to share it in my other channel, like the hotel room and everything, so watch out for it. Okay, and then guys, because it's quite like a place where a lot of tourists are, I also noticed that they had so many street hawkers. Okay, so these were some of the things that really gave me that Nigerian vibes, that, you know, Lagos vibes, and even it didn't even give me the London vibes, because I don't think it's a sight that is very common in the UK. They had lots of street hawkers. That when we went to see the Statue of Liberty, guys, I was like, what is this? Am I in Nigeria? They had so many people selling things things on the street, on the road. You know, they were selling caps, fruits, water. They'll be screaming, come on, buy water, chilled water. So I figured that there are lots of opportunities as well. Lots of opportunities in that part of New York, because you can do anything. And because tourists are coming in, because the place is vibrant, people are just, you know, trooping into that part of the city, it's easy to see something that you can do. Even while we were there, we got lots of business ideas. I'm like, okay, this is something that somebody can actually do. You can sell this, you can sell that, you know. There are lots of opportunities there, right? And there are people who are tapping into those opportunities, who are seeing it and tapping into it, and I think they are making their money. And then, guys, New York has good publicity. I'm sure that even without visiting New York, you would have heard about Times Square, you would have heard about how popular Times Square is, how things are happening. Before I even visited New York, I already heard about a restaurant called Lagos Restaurant in New York, right? So when we came, we looked forward to it. We went there actually because of the publicity, because we heard about it even before coming to the city. You get what I mean? So they have good publicity. They have put themselves out there to be a place where you look forward to coming, right? There are lots of poor people there as well. That was what I observed, okay? Talking about the opportunities now, there are lots of poor people, and these people now see, or some of these people now see the opportunities that are available for them and how they can make money and everything. So you see rich people, right? They are very rich people from the kind of cars they drive. You would hardly see I'm not a car person, like I really don't know so much about cars, but I saw it just by merely looking at the city. It's very obvious. They drive very big cars, and you know that these are very rich people just looking at the kind of cars they drive. Big SUVs, long cars. You would hardly see a salon car in that part of New York. I'm not even kidding. Even the brand of cars, and there was one I saw, they were using like Toyota cars, all these SUV Toyota cars for taxi, for Uber, and I'm like, what? This is a car that in the UK you buy and you're rejoicing, you're happy that you got a big car, and somebody else is using this brand of car for taxi. Guys, even though you might see one or two people using those kind of cars maybe for Uber or taxis in the UK, but it's not as common as it is in New York. Trust me. Right? And then again, guys, I also visited New Jersey, which I think they share a boundary with New York. They're quite close. You can even live here and work here, live in New York, work in New Jersey, live in New Jersey, work in New York and all. And the difference was quite clear, okay? That place is, more quiet, more is saner, there's a breath of fresh air. It's cooler. When we went there, I'm like, okay, now we know the difference is very clear. New York City is so crowded, it's so noisy, it's so hot, and it's so dirty. Of course, it's going to be, even though they try, sometimes you see cleaners trying to clean it up here and there, but then because of the crowd, the people coming into it is very hard to control. Yeah, and then the traffic, it's just like London is a city where I think it's just better to take Uber or take a train, right, than driving, because the traffic, there are lots of people just walking on the street, so the cars have to wait a longer time before they go. In fact, it's just better to walk. It's better to take an Uber. It's better than to drive, because the traffic is mad. It's very crazy. And also, I noticed that with the number of people there, you don't feel like you just came. It's easy to just blend in, because there are lots of people of your color. There are lots of people that are there visiting. There are lots of tourists there, lots of people who just came in, so it's just easy not to feel left out. You can easily just blend in and just walk on the streets without feeling some type of way. You get what I mean? You see so many people of your color, people like you, people that talk like you, that speak like you, even though there might be a little bit of difference here and there, but then it's just, you just know there's just this feeling of we are in all of this together. There's this feeling of, oh, we are here together. Is all all of us. You get what I mean? So it's easy to just blend in, just integrate into the society and not feel like you just came in. And another thing that I also admired about the city is that the train system is very organized, right? In every street, talking about streets now, I like how they number their streets. You know, it's easy to just find your way around, especially with Google Maps. It's quite easy. The numbering of their streets and everything is quite nice. I loved it, right? They use numbers. You hear 30th Avenue, 7th Avenue, 30th Street, 28th Street, you know, 10th Street, 7th, and all of that. So I really liked it. It was kind of unique because in UK they use more of names, but here in New York they use numbers, and I kind of liked it, right? Now going back to the train I was talking about, I like the train system. You know, it's easy to just get your way around from one street to the other, from one avenue to the other, because I think at the end of every street there's a train station. I think so. At the end, by the time you just walk, you just look around, because they have underground trains just like London. As you're walking on the street, you're seeing a train station that you can just go on there, take a train to the next street, something like that, or to wherever you're going to. So it's quite easy to navigate, you know, the city, and also, you know, it's quite accessible. I really like the train system, not the train itself, because sometimes that you enter a train and you're like, I can't wait to get down because it's just shaking and, you know, it's just not so good. Or you're even standing. You know how the underground London train stations, you know that vibe? It's really the same vibe that you get here in New York, right? So that was another thing that I observed. And then there were lots of homeless people and beggars on the streets, and it's quite strange, or it's quite interesting, because these people are in the middle of wealthy people. You know, I mentioned that it's easy to just locate or see that these guys are wealthy because of the kind of cars they drive and, you know, the kind of businesses they do and things, right? So as you're seeing those really wealthy people, you're also seeing really poor people, beggars on the streets, poor people. They're just there. Some are homeless, right? You see them just put like cartons around a corner to sleep and all of that. You even see them begging. There are people that just sit down and beg. Why? There are people that try to, you know, put up a show for you, maybe sing or dance or something, and you still support them, right? So yeah, that's what I observed, that there are lots of poor people in the midst of very wealthy people, right? And then, guys, these people now see the opportunities. And talking about opportunities, if you come to the US or to New York, because we're talking about New York, right, and you are a business-minded person, you might do well easily, because there are lots of opportunities. There are lots of opportunities there, and that's why people tend to do better financially in the US, because there are more opportunities, there are more things that people can do to make ends meet or make extra money, you get. So if you plan to visit New York anytime soon, or if you even want to come to study or probably work in New York, it just depends on the part where you live. Some parts are calmer, okay, but that, you know, that Manhattan is very, very busy, so you have to consider all that as well. It's a very busy place. I don't know if people live there, because there are more of offices and businesses there. I'm not sure. I don't know if people really live there, but I think there are more of offices and businesses and all of that there, right? I can't even live there personally. I can't live in that part of New York because it's quite noisy, it's busy, and it's crowded, okay? So these are the things that you should consider, right? There's some stores that you enter to buy water, guys. You'll be like, what is it? And then you pay tax on everything. So their own tax when it comes to buying goods and services is quite different from that of the UK, because for the UK, you might not even know when you go to buy something, you might not even know you're paying tax, but you're actually paying tax because they've already factored in the tax into the price of whatever you're buying, right? But here, they'll give you the price of what you're buying, the goods, and then I'll tell you, you know, the tax you're going to pay on it. Do you get my point? So you're paying for the goods and then the tax, which is quite different from the UK. And tips, oh my god, if you're going to the US, especially if you're going to New York, just prepare to be giving tips, because it's nothing to them. Clearly, after you have paid for whatever you're paying for, you will still give them tips. Everybody's asking for tips. For the UK, I give it to them. Once somebody does his job and you pay them, that's it, they're okay with it, right? But here, they ask it openly. It's not even something they're hiding. Yeah, it's just something that is very common in the US. So yeah, I think I've been able to cover some of the things that I observed while I was in New York. If you've visited New York, you've lived in New York or visited somehow, and you agree with any of these things that I say, or you have your own opinion as well, please share with us in the comment section from your experiences and everything. We just like to hear from you. Okay, if you plan to work in the US, you plan to move to study, just factor in, you know, the states or where you're going to, because this Houston, Texas that we are right now is calmer and is better. Is a better option for me compared to New York. I wouldn't want to live there. So yeah, from the time that I spent in New York, these were some of the things I observed for the part of New York where we were. Personally, I don't think I can live there. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching today's video. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye bye.